It's September, which means for a lot of artists, especially those on the online art community, the prompt list for this year's Inktober has already came out. Um, for a challenge that is supposed to test artistic skills and creativity, Inktober has been mired in controversy for the past few years due to the creator of Inktober, Jake Parker. Back in 2009, if you didn't know, Jake Parker created Inktober, a challenge for artists to make a different ink drawing every day for the month of October. Now, why was this controversial? Well, for a few reasons. The creator was accused of plagiarism, although I can't really independently confirm that. I have done my research. He didn't exactly plagiarize art. He did use, inspiration for his own Inktober book, and he took some inspiration, quote-unquote, from another artist called Alfonso Dunn. Now, I'm not really here to talk about the controversy. There are other YouTubers that can talk about it better than I can. But from what I understand, Jake Parker did not plagiarize any art. It was basically the techniques that he was talking about involved with creating the art. But regardless, I know that this is a touchy subject and many artists chose not to do Inktober because of it. But I'm here to say that even if you do enjoy the challenge, there's nothing inherently wrong with doing the challenge. Another point of controversy regarding Jake Parker is his decision to trademark Inktober. Now, I don't really get why people are mad at him for doing that. Inktober was his creation, so if anyone is to make money off of it, it should be him. I think in that case, it's another case of the art community being a bit more sensitive, and that seems to be a common thing. We don't want to be seen as starving artists, but sometimes we kind of get in our own heads. If given the opportunity to work with our favorite art supply brands, we would all take that chance. I know I would. In fact, I have worked with art supply brands in the past, and hopefully I get the chance to do it again. But yeah, all Jake Parker really did for trademarking the name Inktober is that he said he didn't want other artists to use the logo in their prints, especially if they were going to sell it, so I don't really see anything wrong with that. Again, it seems like a non-issue compared to plagiarism, which is dubious at best. Last I heard, the case that Alfonso Dunn made was dismissed like 2 years ago. But if I'm wrong, then please let me know down in the comments. So yeah, it is supposed to be a challenge for artistic technique as well as creativity, and has been for a long time, since 2009 to be exact. But is Inktober worth doing in 2024? I'm Ayasuna, and I make videos, more specifically art videos, and today I am talking about Inktober. If I sound a bit awkward, it's because I'm recording this video during one of my live streams, and it's really the first time that I actually done this while I'm live, so yeah, I'm probably going to be stuttering and stammering a bit. But I kind of wanted to test this, because if I do videos during live streams, then I will come out with videos quicker. So yeah, if you want to see my live streams, I'm either live on YouTube, or I'm live on twitch.tv/Ayasuna19, and hopefully future me will remember to put my Twitch in the actual video. So yeah, future editor, if you're listening, don't forget, it's important. So like I said, I already talked about the controversies surrounding Inktober and how I thought about them. I don't think it's wrong that Jake Parker wants to make money, and the case about plagiarism was dismissed. So yeah, When I refer to Inktober, I'm mainly going to be talking about the challenge itself and whether or not it's worth the major time commitment. Because in a way it is a pretty taxing challenge, especially if you're just starting out. Although it can be taxing to some professional artists too. Mainly because, of course, doing something every day for 30 days is going to be a bit of a challenge. Whether you're a professional or just someone starting out. I myself have completed Inktober around 2 to 3 times. But of all the times that I completed Inktober, it was back in my high school years, so I didn't exactly have a whole lot of responsibilities back then. I make a habit to do at least one Inktober drawing per year, even if I don't do the whole 31 days. But that's just me. I like anything horror related, so I wasn't really going to skip anything regarding that. So on to the challenge itself. Like I said before, the goal of Inktober is to create an ink drawing every day for 31 days of October, following the list that Jake Parker created. Though as the popularity of the challenge improved, other artists made their own prompt lists for the month. It didn't matter if you had an old ballpoint pen or a brush pen imported straight from Japan. The challenge itself was supposed to be accessible for all artists, both beginners and professionals. But understandably, regardless of skill level, drawing and posting something every day for 30 days is a major time commitment. Not to mention coming up with ideas to draw every day for that long can also be a bit of a challenge. That's why the prompt list for Inktober often comes out a month before the actual challenge starts. Even if you do come up with a plan, life happens, of course, and a challenge like that can lead to burnout if you aren't careful. That said, even if you don't complete all 31 days, there's still a lot to gain from doing a challenge like that. Learning a new medium or technique is never a bad thing, and even learning how to fit creativity in your daily life is also good, even if it's just a 10-minute drawing. The goal of Inktober is to get people to draw, but I don't necessarily think you need to have a full completed illustration every day to complete that task. So, knowing the fact that Inktober can be a time-consuming challenge, again, some artists also made their own Inktober prompts, but with only 15 prompts for 15 days. Different than the original. So yeah, don't feel compelled to do all 31 days. It is a major time commitment. And given the time that Inktober happens, a lot of people are either in work or have started back in their academic pursuits, of course. So that was a bit of a challenge. The times that I completed Inktober again, I was in high school. So yeah, it was still quite a busy time for me. Despite all the controversies, I still do think that there is some value in completing Inktober or other prompt lists like it, which is funny because I did make a previous video talking about how it could lead to burnout. But my take is a little different, at least in regards to this. So, like I said, the prompt list for 2024 has already came out at this point, and like I said, a lot of people are upset about it. Not necessarily just at the fact that they're upset about Jake Parker. A lot of people weren't happy because of the prompts themselves. There was clearly a travel theme going on in this year's Inktober, and for whatever reason that seemed to upset a lot of people. Now, I don't know why. I think compared to the previous Inktober's, at least for the past couple years, this prompt list actually does seem quite fun. But hey, that's just me. I like the travel theme. a lot of the greatest horror was told in stories, so I kind of like the narrative perspective for this year's list. But I'm interested in hearing your takes. If you disagree with me, you can let me know down in the comments, of course. And if you're listening to me ramble and stutter and stammer, you might as well give me a like and a subscribe to my channel. And again, check me out on Twitch because I tend to go live on the weekends. Twitch.tv/iasuna19 if you're interested. But yeah, I didn't really seem to understand why people were upset with the Inktober prompt list. If you don't like the prompts, then simply just follow another art list. I'm not really sure why you're gonna be mean or nasty in the comments for Inktober. Regardless of how you feel about the creator, the brand of Inktober itself has actually helped quite a lot of artists be featured, especially on Instagram because that's where the trend became the most popular. Even the Inktober website constantly features artists of all skill levels, even artists that use ballpoint pens, so it really even isn't about the supplies that you use. More so, keeping the spirit of the challenge alive. So yeah, compared to the last Inktober prompt list, I actually like this year's version quite a lot. And I know some people were feeling quite negative about it, but I don't know, I'm actually quite excited, more than I have been for other Inktober lists. I remember for the past few years that a lot of them had repeated words that were used in other lists, and I just wasn't really feeling inspired by the prompts, but to this year's list, that's quite different, even to the point that I created my own OC just for this prompt list, and that is the OC that I'm drawing here now. Now, if you've been following me, how I go about designing characters, I'm quite indecisive, so this may or may not be the final version for this character, but I actually had this character for quite a while, and if you've been following me on my other socials, you've likely seen her, at least a version of her before. She is the bookkeeper's daughter. I initially made this character to showcase the Ferris wheel press inks that I was given at the beginning of this year. They were my first real sponsor, and even though I'm not sponsored by them anymore, I can't recommend their products enough. Regardless, the inks that they sent me told a story, which is kind of ironic for Inktober. One of the colors that I received from Ferris Wheel Press was a color called Bookkeeper's Brass. Pretty much it was based off a bookstore that was in Japan. It's been around for over 200 years. The bookstore is actually still in business now. And I wanted to talk about it because it kind of relates to this character. The other two colors that I received were based off of California, Malibu Blush, and Cabernet on the Lake, which were both inspired by the vineyards of California. Now, what does this have to do with Inktober? Well, let me get to that. I wanted this character to have a bit of a vintage look, which was kind of based on the design of the inks themselves. Future me, remember to put the picture of the inks that I'm referring to in the video, and again, please don't forget. The inks themselves have a very fancy design, and it kind of reminds me of the 1920s Art Deco vibe, so I'm kind of going for that for this character. She is the bookkeeper's daughter. Her father works for the bookstore that I mentioned, the one in Japan, and like I said, she's her daughter. She's his daughter. So basically, what I had in mind for this character is that she's supposed to be some extroverted socialite, like ritzy ditzy. She snobs around with rich folks, but because she grew up in a bookstore like all of her life, she develops a love for horror stories. And in a travel-themed prompt list, I feel like this character is kind of important. She uses her social influences to be able to travel to different haunted locations, and she becomes a bit of an explorer herself. Now again, this design might change. I might do an updated design. This is her formal wear gown, but I will make another design for her exploring, because I don't really see her walking around with a mermaid dress on if she's exploring some haunted mansion. But I was in the mood to draw a fancy dress, so that's kind of what I did here. I guess some people just didn't like this year's prompt list from Inktober because it was so narrative focused. But I feel like for me, it's actually quite a pro, because without a story or a purpose, it can be hard for me to, I guess, be invested in something. But yeah, the character starts off like a fancy social butterfly type character. But she does have an adventurous side, although you don't really see that here. I just wanted to draw a fancy dress that I saw. But I guess my whole point is that Inktober canon still should be fun. I think people sometimes take things way too seriously. It is supposed to be a challenge, so I kind of like the more narrative approach to this year's list, even though that might be an unpopular opinion. I feel like the previous lists just didn't have a focus, and for me that's just kind of hard to work with. I of course can't speak for other artists, but I don't think it's that hard to make a character and have it be reoccurring in a story. I think compared to previous Inktovers, I kind of want this character to be like a webcomic type format. I might not do all of Inktober, but I do want to feature this character in a few different comic strips. I'm mainly going to be doing this digitally, although I might make some traditional Inktober drawings as well. But yeah, this was just something that I was thinking about, and I wanted to share what I was planning to do for Inktober. Now, whether or not that's Inktober is something that's worth doing for you, I can't really speak on that. But I think if you are looking to form an habit of doing art every day, that's certainly not a bad option to get started. You don't have to do all 31 days, but even if you just take the habit to draw at least 10 minutes per day, I don't think that's too unreasonable, even for Inktober. It doesn't necessarily have to be a super fancy drawing. It could just be something to express yourself. It doesn't even have to follow the original prompt list, as there's many others to follow. So that's pretty much my 2 cents about the Inktober situation. Do I think it's still worth doing? Absolutely, if you think you're going to get something out of it. Do you have to do all 31 days? No. And no one's really forcing you to. Do I think you're a bad person for doing Inktober? No. It is a challenge meant for fun. And I feel like fun has kind of gone away from the art community with the whole talk of AI and stuff. So having a space to be creative is something that I think Jake Parker wanted with the Inktober. And I think sometimes people are getting away from that, at least getting bogged down by all the drama. So all in all, that's pretty much what I had to say on this subject. So stay tuned for more Inktober themed drawings that I make. I'm also probably going to have a list of horror games that I want to play during the month of October, so please stay tuned for that. If you want to see more videos like this, then don't hesitate again to subscribe and ring that bell notification so you can see every time I upload something. And again, I'm usually going to be live on Twitch on the weekends. Although I might come online on YouTube every now and then. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say for this video. So far, yeah, take care. Bye. Sorry for how awkward this is.